I do call Jay Glazer. I talk to him. Kind of spiritual guidance sometimes I get with Jay Glazer. I'll just like, I'm not feeling good physically. And Jay will go, hey, man, like he's my life coach. I didn't know I needed one, but I got one. Jay Glazer from Fox NFL Sunday joining us from London.
Yes.
What are you doing in London?
Why not? Why would I not be here in London at the trade dedeadline? So all the trades go down. Didn't you know that?
Are you ahead of everything? Do you know
all the trades? I'm getting ahead for Sunday out here in London. You know what happened? I'm doing our Veterans Day show, which is the best show we do every year, right? We're not doing it from military base this year. So I'm going to be doing it from Washington, D.C. from the Veterans Day parade. And I said to my wife, hey, I'm never on the East Coast during the season ever. So do you want to go somewhere, Caribbean or something like it's just as, to go from Malibu to Washington, D.C. is, 7 hours. I said, you want to do, and she said, my wife has modeled all over the world and she's never been to London. So she's like, how about London? I'm like, done. So we're going to London. So that's where I'm doing the trade deadline from London here. And then I'm going to go from here to D.C.
Awesome. So it's the Veterans Day show Sunday from D.C., the Veterans Day parade with Fox NFL Sunday. What do you expect to happen today?
So, no, go ahead. So I do look, Dallas isn't done trying to make some moves here. They brought in Logan Wilson. They're also still talking about bringing in a pass rusher. Seattle's they've been aggressive to upgrade, more so on the offensive side of the ball. And, everyone's looking for pass rushers, but for Trey Hendrickson, who a week ago, I would have, teams were like, nah, they're not interested. Now they're more than listening, but they're asking for an awful lot. Bradley Chubb's the other guy out there, which I think Miami's just kind of looking to get his money off their books. They're not asking for an awful lot. So I could see one of these teams looking for a pass rusher like, Dallas, Chicago, teams like that, jumping in on a Bradley Chubb. And then, look, everyone's looking for a corner, but there's really no corners out there. A couple receivers on Fox that, there are teams who are asking about A.J. Brown, and the Eagles like, no shot. There'd be a mutiny in that locker room if A.J. Brown went anywhere. So that's not happening. So then after that, there's a big drop-off. There's like, Shaheed from the Saints. I can see him go on the move. Calvin Ridley from the Titans. They're trying to, shop around for a third-round pick, which is a lot. Myers out in with the Raiders. I know the Steelers were interested earlier, but there's not, people for trade deadline. They're hoping that, okay, we're going to have a Christian McCaffrey type thing. And even like Garoppolo was big years ago when the 49ers did that, or Von Miller with the Rams a couple years ago. They're hoping for these big names, but it's just not like that these days. It hasn't been for the last couple of years.
But of all these edge rushers, I don't know if Max Crosby is untouchable.
No, so Max told me he doesn't want to go anywhere. That's straight from the horse's mouth, which he's told them. And they've also told him, we're not moving you. Okay. I know it's funny because you put a little thing out yesterday with like an eagle symbol, and everybody thought he was going to the Eagle. Not happening. No, I actually texted one of my guys in the Eagles and I wish, and it's not happening.
Okay.
But Max I had another team say to me, they asked me to ask about Max. And it's funny too being an insider because people will ask, like at least me.
Wait, they're using you as a middleman?
Because then it's culpable deniability. I've even had teams say, hey, can you offer them this? Because then let's say it's a player and it's not them trying to get rid of the player, right? They didn't call, I called. Right? I'm just an insider trying to get the scoop. But then I have the inside information. But Max, I had a team ask me about Max, and I said, no, he wants to stay, And the guy's like, man, he's loyal. I said, Max is extremely loyal. And they go, that's why we love him. But man, we wish he wasn't.
What about Myles Garrett?
No.
Untouchable.
I've been told a hard no from everybody I've asked. And, I don't understand if I'm the Browns and I think you may be able to get more than what, Dallas got from Micah Parsons. They're clearly going to, they're always in rebuilding mode. So. They're just always in rebuilding mode. I feel bad for Browns fans. I really do.
Okay, but speaking of the Browns, and I know there's all this, speculation, rumor, innuendo, and then somebody says, hey, the Jets should trade for Shedeur Sanders. So let me just ask, is that something that you think that the Jets would entertain?
I don't know what the Jets' thinking is, but obviously they have a quarterback issue over there, so I don't know. I don't know where they had him in the draft, and that's another issue. I think is a lot of teams were looking at Shador as really high up. Would we want him the first or second? They didn't. So I don't even know they considered him later on. And clearly he's talented, right? So he kind of just got lost in that shuffle. But I don't know where he was on their board, so it's hard for me to say.
We're talking to Jay Glazer, joining us from, of course, London, Fox
Yes, of
NFL
course.
Sunday Insider, and he'll be there for the Veterans Day Parade in D.C. coming up this weekend. The Veterans Day.
I'm not going to be in London for the Veterans Day Parade because
Good.
that would be totally messed up, wouldn't it?
Yes. That would be bad. Let me speculate on Chris Greer, the GM, getting fired by the Dolphins. I'll just speculate, and then you tell me if I'm off base. Because you're keeping Mike McDaniel to the end of the regular season.
Right.
And I'm wondering if management said or ownership said, hey, we need you to sell off these parts. And Chris Greer said, no, I don't want to. I brought all these guys. I built this, and then they fire him, but they keep the head coach.
No, I don't think that at all. I don't know why the timing was. It was interesting, though, because of the timing of that.
It's a week before the trade deadline when you
Not only
need your
that,
GM.
Yes, because also all the conversations that he had, Champ Kelly, poor Champ Kelly got this thrown. It's like, oh, I don't really know what conversations really were being had. And I had one GM who's like, I'm just going to tell him that Chris and I had disagreed upon. He's not going to know, right? So it was terrible timing. And there was definitely a lot of empathy for Champ Kelly in there. But no, I don't think that was why they did it. But yes, it has. There's a lot of people who looked in the league on why, because then you have the Madrid game, then the bye, so it makes sense there. And I do know Stephen Ross had a lot of love for Chris Greer. I don't know why they decided then, why they had to make that move at that point, because that set things back. Well, maybe it did, maybe it didn't, because again, they still got a 3 for Jalen Phillips. They're going to move. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they move Chubb today. And then, the problem also is that now when you're trying to do a trade, though, it has to go all the way up the flagpole.
Yeah.
There in Miami. So, it's different than if it was just Chris Greer.
Why did they keep the head coach?
I think, Stephen Ross still has an affinity for the head coach.
Can he save his job?
Yeah, I think, you know what? The reason why I say yeah is you remember that year Jim Fossil looked like he was done. He was like, I'm putting all my chips in the middle of the table, right? And then they go on this run, they go to the Super Bowl, right? Remember also the year, and this is why I don't do the coach's hot seat crap. Because remember the year also that Ron Rivera, he was supposedly fired. And then he goes on this great run, becomes Riverboat Ron. They go to the Super Bowl, right? There was people have guys fired all the time. And I don't do it because I like to deal in accuracy. I don't need, and I told you the guys this years ago, I like to be right. And that's why I don't do the minute by minute breaking news stuff anymore, because people don't care about who's right. They care about who's first. And even when you're first, everybody's stealing it inside 2 seconds. So I just want to make sure I'm always right. And that, the coaching carousel, there's going to be 15, 20 names on every year. There's going to be 7 openings, which means at least half of those or 3/4 of those were incorrect. So is there a way for him to save his job? There is. It involves winning the table in a really big fashion.
What's the future of Tua and Kyler Murray, in your opinion?
I wouldn't be surprised if after this year, they could see if they can get something for Kyler after this year. I don't know what kind of market there would be for Kyler. And then as far as the Dolphins, I can't answer because I don't know who's going to be the coach next year. If it's Mike McDaniel, those two have worked really well in the past. Mike is a really good offensive coach. You can't deny that. He's a really good offensive coach. But I can't answer that because I don't know who's going to be there. But as far as Kyler, there's certainly cap implications. It was even this. Look, you hear so many things during this trade deadline, and one of them was, "Hey, man, I'm here. Cardinals are shopping Kyler." I'm like, "There's no way. There's no way you're going to be able to do that now with the cap implications." But I can almost see it like, okay, it's starting to leak out there now, just to set it up for the offseason to see what's out there. And that's, the other funny line, I used this on Fox the other day, but this is real. I got this from 4 or 5 different GMs had the same type of line where they're like, oh, the line for subterfuge this year, like everybody during the draft tries to use subterfuge with, reporters and this and that, right? But they're using it on each other. The GMs in this year's trade deadline where a guy would be like, man, we're not trying to trade player X, but can you believe all these guys are calling us about player X, which means, what do you want to give us for player X?
Subterfuge. Look at you. You go to London and you're
Yeah,
using
see
big
that?
words.
Yes.
Uh,
Suddenly I'm all smart out here in Oxford.
uh, and you're in great spirits. You're in great health.
I'm in great. Hey, and I like what you said. I appreciate it, man. Dan, I love you. And, listen, I talk to people all the time about checking up on their people. When I'm struggling, I check up on two people and let them know. But I also, at the same time, check up on two people and don't let them know. And that's just my way of being of service. And that helps me between the ears. And you're one of the guys I reach out to and try and check up on it. And I know when you went through that your health issues, it's lonely and it's miserable. And I'm like, I will be there for my dude. And then out of nowhere, right, you check up on me
I know.
last year out of nowhere.
I know.
Right? I'm like, Dan, I got the thing for you. I got this place called Origins. I went down and did stem cells and prevented me from a 3-level fusion in my back. And it freaking it reattached my torn bicep tendon back to my shoulder, like built a bridge. Like, dude, you got to try this. If anything, you and your wife will love going down. You'll have the best time. And it gave you healing, which, like, to me, you and I have had a bunch of tears on it. That's what a brother should do for their brothers, man. You share healing.
Yeah. Out of nowhere, I called Jay. I said to my wife, I got to call Jay Glazer. She goes, "Who's Jay Glazer?" I said, I got to call
who's Jay Glazer? She don't watch Fox NFL Sunday?
No.
What kind of crap is that?
No, she
Ballers? No ballers?
She's a Shefty guy,
Not anymore, she's not.
No, she's not. No, not after I explained who you were, and then I talked to you, and I said, "Hun, we're going to Panama for stem cell." She goes, "Anything that'll help you." And she heard your voice, and she said, "He always like that." I said, "No, you went through a dark period, and I remember talking to you, and then I called you, and you're like, 'Dude, I'm going to Italy. I'm getting married. I've never felt better in my life.'" I go, "Wait a minute, what are you doing?" And then, helped change my life and got me healthier. And as I've said before on this show, it's not for everybody. It's something that I believe in.
I think it's for everybody.
Well, I just want to be careful because people have said, "Hey, it didn't work for me," or
they're not going to the right place. Yeah.
But it helped me, and it's stem cell, umbilical cord stem cell, and I went to Panama at a place called Origins, and when you go in there and there are famous people in there, Jay, and you're going, oh hi,
yeah,
oh hi,
right.
like,
well, you're all down there to heal, right?
Yes. I know. Are you checking your phone for trade info?
I'm getting a call actually now saying guy asked me, "What do you think about Quinn Williams? Last second here, might have a shot." So, great dude, love the guy.
So are the Jets selling?
Well, they were kind of like, "Hey, you got to make us a huge offer, or blow us out of the water," but maybe somebody's willing to do something like that. But I think that's just the interpretation of one team. That's what you got to go through.
Quinn Williams would be a great pickup for somebody.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really going to be.
Okay.
I don't know how. Yeah, but
Chubb's going to get traded. You think?
Oh no, I think
Cowboys.
Chubb's squarely on the block, so he has a better chance than I think Williams. I'm just saying Quinnen, as of the other day, was like a hard no, and now it's kind of like, hey, maybe we can make a run at him. Can we make a run? And guys will ask me like, what kind of guy? They'll ask me what kind of guy he is. Like you go back to the stem cell. I was one of the first guys in the NFL to fight professionally in mixed martial arts in 22 years ago. And before we really knew we just beat the hell out of each other. And then Fox made me stop fighting. I started coaching guys, and I've started training NFL players in MMA, and I've trained hundreds and hundreds. So as a result, and then also like my training partners are Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell and guys like this, and I got everything working against me. I'm a 5'7" Jewish guy. So I got everything working against me. But as a result of wrestling all these football players, man, and training with these guys and sparring, I've ruptured 12 discs in my back. I don't have an L4, L5. And Dan, that's like, you had heard me, like I had a Dr. Watkins out here was like, "Jay, there's no more epidurals. There's no more Toradol. We either got to do a 3-level fusion or we're putting a rod in your back." And for me, I just thought life was going to be over. Like people keep asking me, "Why do you keep like training and sparring and doing this?" I said, "I'd rather it kill me than I die from not doing it." And I went down just I threw a flyer up on that stem cell, and The next day, it's supposed to take like good, 60 days, 90 days, whatever. I was a super responder. Day 2, I got out of bed and my wife was like, "Oh my God, you're standing straight up. You're 5'7" again." But it was the first time I had been pain free in 20 something years. I first ruptured my back in 2001 or something like that. And man, it's just changed my life. So I'm glad I was able to give you healing. Man,
give me the NFL player you think could professionally fight like UFC.
Oh man, there's a bunch of. First of all, Kyle Long, but he'd have to get down. We'd have to fight in Japan where there's no weight limits. Kyle was so nasty. Deshaun Golston, safety. Oh my God! And then a guy that I've trained recently, last couple of years, Derwin James. Man, I love Derwin. Derwin is so athletic and he just picks everything up and move. And some athletes, it takes a little while for them to pick things up. Other guys, man, they pick it. I'll tell you what the other interesting thing. I've also trained a bunch of performers, right? I've trained the Jonas Brothers and like Wiz Khalifa and Snoop Dogg, Demi Lovato. They pick things up really well because they could pick up several steps. They can pick up 5 steps in a row and their hips move great and they can connect it with their footwork. Everything starts from the ground up. We're NFL players and like I have a wrestling background. We're meatheads, it's just we're not able to think that far ahead, but we can get like that. It's pretty interesting.
You think I could take
Derwin James? Yeah, I'll take Derwin.
You think I could take a Jonas brother?
I think you'd get choked out pretty fast, but that's just me.
Yeah. Probably right. Probably. But the new and improved me.
Right. With the stem cells version, you take Derwin.
Yeah, I'm going after Joe Jonas. I don't think he could take me. Oh, punk. My best to your wife, and thanks for joining us, and safe travels back for the Veterans Day.
I love you, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Love to see you doing better.
Thank you. That's Jay Glazer. He'll be back on Sunday, Fox NFL Sunday, the Veterans Day Parade. That's their biggest show, and joining us from London. We'll take a break. More phone calls coming up. And Dan Quinn takes the blame for his quarterback's injury. We'll have that for you coming up.